Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Let's Talk Social Workers and Psychotherapists for UHN and Altum Health. Welcome. My name is Veronica, and I am going to be one of your hosts for today's event. There are a few people still joining us, so we'll give it another minute or so. But I do want to thank you for being here, and we are going to have a Q&A at the very end, so please hold your questions to the end, and then you can feel free to unmute yourselves. Or if you're not comfortable speaking, you could totally write them in the chat, and we will definitely get to them at the end. So I did want to open up our presentation with a land acknowledgement, and I'm hoping that I do it some justice. So I acknowledge the land we are on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to the many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by the Treaty 13 and the Mississauga Credit. I always worry whenever. So I did want to welcome our presenters who will be speaking to you today. We're going to hear from Mandy So, who is one of our talent acquisition consultants in people and culture at UHN. We're going to hear from Sarah Harrison, who is a talent acquisition consultant that works directly with our Altum Health team at UHN. We have a special guest, Ali Henderson, who is the discipline head for social work at UHN, and Saeed Ali, who's also a talent acquisition consultant at People and Culture at UHN, who's going to go through some of our perks of working at UHN at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Mandy, who's going to tell you a little bit about UHN as a whole.
Thank you, Veronica. So as Veronica mentioned, my name is Mandy. I'm a talent acquisition consultant with UHN. And as you might know, University Health Network is the largest hospital network in Canada. So we currently do have over 16,000 employees, 3,100 volunteers, and 8,000 students. And we have been doing some amazing things. So Toronto General is ranked as #4 on the list of world's best hospitals. And our foundations have raised $468 million in support of UHN in the past 5 years. Next slide, please. So University Health Network is comprised of Toronto General Hospital, Toronto Western Hospital, Princess Margaret Cancer Centre, as well as Toronto Rehabilitation, as well as the Michener Institute. And now I'll pass it over to our discipline head, Ali Henderson.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mandy. I'm really thrilled to be here and to virtually meet you all today. As Mandy indicated, my name is Ali Henderson, and I am the discipline head for social work at UHN. And a little bit about me and where I've come from. I graduated from Ryerson, or formerly known Ryerson University, with my Bachelor of Social Work. I then graduated from Dalhousie University with my Master of Social Work. I've been employed at UHN since 2016. I started my career at Princess Margaret Cancer Centre, and I'd started there in the Wallace McCain Centre for Pancreatic Cancer, followed by the Hans Messner Allogenic Transplant Program. I've participated in the Young Leaders Program, and I'm currently the discipline head. I've moved into this role since September of 2021. Next slide. So I'm just going to review a little bit about social work at UHN. Social workers are key members of all UHN programs and services. They are experts regarding the social determinants of health and well-being and enable people to access their right to care, to benefit from care, and to thrive in their lives. Social workers complete psychosocial assessments that consider each individual in their unique circumstances and environment, including their supports, both formal and informal. A social worker helps patients, families, and caregivers cope with the impact of illness or hospitalization from an emotional, financial, and practical perspective. They provide support and counseling and can help facilitate access to community services. Social workers also help foster communication among patients, families, caregivers, and staff so that the patient wishes and needs are heard. Moving into psychotherapy at UHN. So psychotherapy, treating by means of psychotherapy technique delivered through a therapeutic relationship, an individual's serious disorder of thought, cognition, mood, emotional regulation, perception, or memory that may seriously impair the individual's judgment, insight, behavior, and communication or social functioning. So a lot of our psychotherapists are practicing in both outpatient mental health clinics and through Altum Health, and specializing in DBT, CBT, CFT, and MCBT. A lot of acronyms for you there. Next slide. If we think about the guiding values of social work, that is really what's at the core of what we do. And so this is linked to the Ontario College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers in highlighting respect, fairness and transparency, efficiency and effectiveness, leadership and accountability, ethical conduct, and caring communities. I'm just seeing something in the chat here. You've lost audio. Can everybody hear me okay?
I'm still hearing you.
Yes?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Maybe it was just that one chat. Okay, so who we are. UHN has 180 social workers, including MSWs, community support workers, mental health clinicians, and we are all registered with the Ontario College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers. There are approximately 32 registered psychotherapists working under the title Psychotherapist through Altum, or mental health clinician, UHN Center for Mental Health. These professions are integral to our healthcare system and are part of our interdisciplinary teams in both inpatient and outpatient settings. This is just a quick visual of thinking about the social determinants of health. And really, social work is at the core of what patients, their loved ones are experiencing. So really just highlighting areas: hunger, food security, access to care, housing, mental health, transportation, education, your income and jobs, the isolation, and your environment and safety. Next slide. So if we think about our key roles and responsibilities, social workers are there to assess patients for the purpose of evaluating the need for service, the nature of the problem, and formulating recommendations or treatment plans. Social workers are implementing an intervention plan with patients, families, significant others, and the multidisciplinary team for the purpose of facilitating changes in behavior, attitudes, feelings, and/or the environment. We liaise with appropriate community agencies, and we establish contact with members of the multidisciplinary team and the community agencies to obtain, provide, or exchange information related to the patient's past, present, and future health, healthcare, and psychosocial functioning. So when we think about the referrals to social work, why are we getting referrals and where are they coming from? I've highlighted some really key areas. If we think about safety and risk, so child maltreatment, vulnerable adults due to cognitive or physical deficits, high-risk behaviors, harm to self or others, suicidality, unsafe environments, violence in relationships, human trafficking, mental health, and/or substance use concerns. If we focus on distress, we're seeing crisis interventions, traumatic events, grief and loss, treatment decisions and quality of life, end of life or advanced care planning, adjustment and transitions, maybe a new diagnosis, family system challenges, caregiver challenges, and that would include for children, youth, or adults. System navigation, so complex situations requiring enhanced collaborative care planning, barriers to transition planning or accessing resources, barriers to stabilizing social determinants of health, engaging patients in treatment care, treatment adherence, coordinating legal issues, maybe immigration, legal, health, or financial, and managing chronic conditions and service providers and advocacy. Then we move into the practical concerns. So transition planning and continuity of care, eligibility for various services, benefits, so Ontario Works, employment insurance, housing resources, financial concerns, drug coverage, transportation, particularly if that is a barrier to health appointments, linking, referring to other community resources, immigration, parenting, seniors, and psychoeducation and self-help resources, psychotherapy and counseling resources. Proud to be a social worker. My favorite slide for the presentation. I'm extremely proud to be a social worker at UHN and to be in a position where I'm supporting 180 amazing social workers. I feel proud and I feel connected to this because there's so many opportunities for growth. There's professional development opportunities, it's meaningful clinical work. We are ultimately supporting patients and loved ones at the most difficult times in their lives. We can make a difference. Working on interdisciplinary teams is exciting work. We're exposed to new ideas, thoughts, perceptions. We learn from one another. And I love the idea of supporting future social work. We are a teaching institution, so supervising MSW students and being involved in their care. So some testimonials for you from a colleague, Maria. I enjoy working at UHN. There is a wealth of opportunities to continue learning within the profession of social work, as well as from other healthcare professionals. I enjoy working at UHN because the work challenges me professionally and personally. I have the ability to fully engage in clinical activities, but also contribute to teaching and research. There's never a dull moment working at UHN. Colleague Sarah, why I enjoy working at UHN is the fast pace, the bright minds, the commitment to diversity, the compassionate hearts, and the patients and their people who are generous with their stories, open to change, and ready to define hope, regardless of where they are in their disease trajectory or treatment. There's always a role for hope. I enjoy my work. It's stimulating and very fulfilling, personally and professionally.
Sorry, before we go on to Sarah's part, I see that Marla has her hand up. Marla.
Hi, Marla.
Hi, Ali. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I just wanted to make one point of clarification about some of the psychotherapists who work as mental health clinicians. In my portfolio at UHN, in outpatient mental health, some of those staff are registered with the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario. And really, I can hire into that position mental health clinician if the individual is registered with a college that is licensed to practice the act of psychotherapy. So that could be OT, it could be the nursing college, or a social work college.
Very important. Thank you for clarifying and highlighting that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
All right, thank you so much. So a little bit about Altum Health. We are a revenue generating program within the University Health Network. We operate across Southern Ontario in 11 cities. So it's great for employees who want to be part of UHN, but don't necessarily want to live in Toronto and all the hustle and bustle. We provide both physical rehabilitation and mental health services. So our teams are interdisciplinary, and in addition to psychotherapists, include physiotherapists, occupational therapists, kinesiologists, chiropractors, massage therapists, as well as a wide range of physicians. We boast a 97% patient satisfaction rate. And as a revenue generating program within a public sector organization, we operate under what's referred to as a private for public model. So this means that we give 100% of proceeds to UHN for both medical care and clinical research. Next slide, please. So here are just these are our various sites. So we have Ajax, Barrie, Brampton, Cambridge. We have 2 Hamilton sites currently, but they are soon to be combined into one. And we have Mississauga, Oakville, our brand new Oshawa site that just opened in November, Scarborough, Vaughan, and then our primary site, which is the Crumble Discovery Tower at Toronto Western Hospital. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the psychotherapist roles at Altum, as Marla had mentioned, they also can be filled by anyone who is legally allowed to practice psychotherapy. We do tend to focus on registered psychotherapists or social workers with psychotherapy experience, just based off of the client population that we see. The majority of our clients see us after experiencing a workplace injury or after a motor vehicle accident. So the mental health services that we offer focus on both common conditions such as stress, trauma, depression, anxiety, loss, and grief stemming from their injury, as well as pain conditions and concussion-related emotional and psychological symptoms. The psychotherapist role at Altum offers a good mix of both independent work as well as opportunities for collaboration with the other clinicians on site. A common thing that we hear from our clinical staff is how much they value the opportunity to learn from other disciplines and implement those aspects into their own practice. Next slide. So what we're looking for is kind of a range of therapeutic skills, primarily CBT, DBT, ACT, and experience with motivational interviewing. Experience working with clients with chronic pain and substance use disorders that can result from that is also helpful. Ideally, we would see experience working with individuals with disabilities and injuries resulting from a workplace or auto-related accident, though previous experience with individuals with other acquired disabilities or chronic illnesses would provide a great basis as well as the flexibility to work with clients however their condition requires. So group therapy versus one-to-one, as well as virtual versus in-person. With the majority of clients being third-party referrals through WSIB or auto insurers, case management experience is very helpful. And other clinical staff will often call on staff psychotherapists for assessment for crisis intervention purposes. Working with insurers does require a lot of report writing and documentation, so strong writing skills, as well as the ability to meet report deadlines is crucial. Right. So here's kind of an idea of what gets referred to psychotherapy. So as mentioned, risk assessments and crisis intervention, addressing anger and resentment stemming from their injury, overcoming psychosocial barriers to physical recovery, MTBIs and living with post-concussion syndrome, education courses to give clients coping strategies, and supporting clients through the return to work process, which can be arduous and emotionally taxing. Next slide. So Altum offers multiple avenues for growing both your career and skill set. Clinical staff have the option to grow into quality assurance roles, clinical leadership roles, or operation roles. There are frequent in-service training sessions held, and staff who are interested in career growth are encouraged to lead a session of their own if leadership is something that interests them. We offer support for ongoing education in the form of tuition assistance and providing training seminars on key clinical skills. There's also the opportunity to participate in and lead working groups and projects. Next slide. All right, so this is a testimonial from one of our psychotherapists, Becky. So she said, I enjoy seeing clients get a piece of themselves back after going through recovery. While this is a challenging population to work with, when we see improvements and clients notice this benefit in their lives, both at work and otherwise, it keeps many of the clinicians going. So I'll hand it over to Mandy.
Thanks, Sarah. So what are some of the perks of working at UHN? So we are located at the in downtown Toronto in the heart of the Discovery District. We have a program called the Emerging Leaders Program for those who aspire to be a UHN people manager or leader. And this is a program that is for 6 months and for the opportunity for high-performing individuals to explore and strengthen leadership skills. And the program includes formal leadership workshops, learning labs, and coaching / networking opportunities. There's also the I Give at UHN staff 50/50 lottery raffles. So it's automatically deducted from your paycheck if you sign up. And then the most recent one that we had, I believe, was over $30,000, and the money raised goes to the UHN Foundation. There's also staff appreciation events. So pre-COVID, there were the barbecue lunches, and then during COVID, we had ice cream carts during the summertime. The foundations have been very generous and have been providing us with meal vouchers for those of us who are working on site. There's also 25% off courses at Michener Institute, and we also get 10% off at the UHN gift shops and UHN pharmacy. added value benefits. So we do get employee discounts at, I believe, Rogers, TELUS, Apple, etc. We also offer competitive wages and benefits. And of course, UHN is committed to EDI. So we have committees for the LGBTQ community, Black history, and accessibility advisory, and joint health and safety, as well as professional associations.
All right, so Altum has the ability to participate in all the same perks and benefits that the rest of UHN experiences. We also offer a balance between a private clinic setting and a hospital setting. There is a strong culture of collaboration and multidisciplinary support. And as mentioned, opportunities for continuous learning and development, as well as a wide range of career paths to take. We also do collaborate with across sites for different initiatives. For example, the Christmas time holiday season charity drive, where we kind of compete against each other to raise money for whichever charity is chosen for the year. And we take the opportunity to celebrate with each other as well.
All right, everyone, my name is Syed. So I will be presenting on quality of life and some other perks, which my colleagues have already touched upon. So in terms of working at UHN, total compensation that you will get is actually very competitive. And what I mean by total compensation is overall package of what you will get. So that includes your vacation, your float, the benefits you will get. So that's what it would be included. You will also be entitled to a paid vacation as a full-time employee of UHN. You'll also get 5 unpaid days off. There's personal and emergency leaves as well. Of course, some of those are legislated leaves. And we do have a short-term disability plan. There's also an option for adoption leave, and of course, maternity and paternity top-ups. So as you are aware, maternity and paternity is a legislated leave, but on top of that, UHN will give you a top-up. So basically, while you're on parental or your maternity leave, you'll be getting a top-up from UHN. I'm sorry, Veronica, we went, I think we went a slide up. Yes, sorry, thank you. Okay, additional perks, we do have on-site parking. Which is of course discounted for staff. There's on-site massage therapy, there's on-site uniform clinic, we have health services as well, we have telecommunication discounts, auto insurance discount, and a relocation reimbursement for new hires. So now just expanding a little bit more on total compensation, as I mentioned already about extended healthcare coverage, is actually quite very good. And you will have different options depending on your family situation, whether you're single or married. If you have kids, they would be entitled to coverage as well. So dental, vision, there's also healthcare spending account, which you can allocate some of the money for services which are not covered by extended health plan. Of course, there's disability insurance, both short-term and long-term, life, dependent life, travel accident insurance, and God forbid, accidental death and dismemberment insurance as well. We do offer flexible work environment. You can also bank your time. There's an option for job sharing and flex time program. And something I want to bring to your attention is the 4 years on, 1 year off. So what you can do, so let's say if you are planning to finish your a graduate degree or take further education, you can actually bank some time. So you work 3 years and then you can take 1 year off, but you would be working extra for you will be working extra for the 4 years, and then you'll get 1 year off by banking your time. Also, I want to bring to your attention about HOOP. It actually stands for Healthcare of Ontario Pension Plan. We are a HOOP employer. And the way it works, actually, it's if you contribute $100, the employer will contribute $126. So let's say upon graduation, if you are starting to work with UHN, and of course it is mandatory for full-time employees to contribute to HOOP, you would be saving a lot of money and you can pretty much retire at 55. You'll be laughing at 55 if you do that. And in terms of recognition, we do have long service tea ceremonies. We have excellence awards. We have patient or colleague star summer barbecues, holiday cookie, coffee, and cider. A lot of sugar there. We have peer-to-peer UHN value badges. There's e-cards as well and team celebration. For employee well-being, we do have EAP, stands for Employee and Family Assistance Program. Sorry, it's EFAP. Wellness and offerings, Bright Mindset Program, external gym membership discount, diversity services and councils, the smoking cessation program. I hope none of you smoke, but we do have that available. Of course, work-life harmony. There's the adoption subsidy, child and elder care discounts. We do have on-site pharmacy and you would get 10% off. There's on-site dry cleaning as well. And we do have the Bring Your Kids to Work Day, which hasn't happened because of the pandemic, but hopefully we're going to start that again. And you will get multiple corporate discounts as well, such as travel, spas, restaurants, etc. Now, if you are going for further education, we do have UHN Leadership Program Education, where you get 25% off at Michener Institute if you want to take any courses. So Michener Institute is actually part of UHN. We do have tuition assistance program. We have also a 360 feedback and mediation services. And of course, we have on-site libraries as well. And in terms of communication, the communication is actually very open here at UHN. So you will be getting a lot of anything new, anything in the news. When I started here, I see a lot of communication going out from our CEO, Kevin Smith. You'll also get a lot of communication from the department. So you will be very well informed. Okay. All right, so just to expand on the leaves, as I mentioned already, so we have pregnancy and parental leave, which is topped up to 85%, 5 days time off, competitive paid vacation, personal and emergency leaves, we have paid sick days as well. Other benefits, the HOOP, which stands for Healthcare of Ontario Pension Plan. I would really recommend that you check on that, because this is one of the best pension plan. We do have flexible work arrangements, extended healthcare, vision and dental coverage that I already explained. It is actually very, very generous and the coverage is great. Flexible healthcare spending accounts. We have employee family assistance program, on-site employee health services, on-site gyms and fitness classes, and education. As I mentioned, through Michener Institute, you get 25% off, and there's other tuition reimbursements as well. Thank you.
All right, so the Altum Health careers can be found on both our specific website as well as the UHN career site. We do have anticipated psychotherapist roles coming out within the next few weeks to a couple months. Yeah, we believe in our people and always encourage new ideas and initiatives through our strong focus on continuous improvement, which enables us to be an industry leader. So through hands-on training and leadership guidance, there is no end to the potential for a successful career within UHN Altum Health.
Okay, so that covers the information portion of our afternoon. I did want to open up for any Q&As in the chat. So I'm going to open up the chat and see what we have in there. We also had a few people who were not able to attend send me a few questions ahead of time, as they're going to be receiving the recording. So I'm gonna read some of those out. So let me see. Okay, Allison is asking, is the benefit and pension package included for all full-time employees, permanent and temporary? Does anybody want to answer that one?
So it is at this time just for permanent employees.
Maria is asking, are the DEI committee contact information on the website? Not the committee contact, I don't believe so, Maria. There is our DEI statement on our UHN website. The contact info would be internal, so I don't think they put that information on the external website, but you can definitely find our information on DEI on our website. Noreen is asking, are there any opportunities for upcoming social workers interested in pursuing psychotherapy?
Yeah, I'll jump into that. There are always different postings that are up. I would always encourage you to check out the career pages for current opportunities at UHN. There will be more opportunities to come, so stay tuned on that website. It will tell you what's current.
Okay, Krista is asking, any remote jobs? I'm assuming she's asking remote social work and psychotherapy.
So I would say what a really great thing, I guess we could say, if there was a great thing that came from COVID and the pandemic, is how much we really have learned to adapt. And so many more folks are working from home. We are very flexible and adaptable with folks' schedules. So there are definitely opportunities if you are foreseeing that maybe being on site, 5 days a week is something that may not be working. There are many virtual and working from home possibilities.
Wonderful. Xiao Ching is asking, what is a base salary? I'm assuming for social worker as well.
Yeah, so I can answer that one. So for social workers with a master's degree, the range is $39.20 to $49 an hour. I'm not sure about psychotherapy. Sarah, if you can answer that one.
Absolutely. So the range for registered psychotherapists is $36.38 to $45.47 per hour.
Wonderful, thank you. Kimya is asking, are there trainings for specific modalities offered by the workplace?
I think that's a great question. I'm not sure if I have enough specifics to answer it in full. There are definitely training, education, professional development opportunities for all of our social workers and psychotherapists. I think it might depend a little bit more on what site or program you're specifically looking at.
Wonderful. Norman is asking, can we get any contacts we can reach out to? I'm assuming to speak to ask questions, Noreen, if you want to clarify that.
Sorry, yes, just to ask questions or when we're applying as well, just in terms of future applications.
I'm happy to put my contact information into the chat if that's at all helpful for any questions around social work.
Thank you. Okay, next question. For current students seeking student placements and hopefully future roles, does UHN work with specific universities, or can any student apply to a placement within UHN?
That's a great question. We do have a working relationship with the University of Toronto, so we do take a lot of U of T students. However, we are broadening that. So I know that we have been accepting students from a number of different universities around Ontario this year and this coming summer. So I think the opportunities there are really growing, and there will be a lot of possibility.
Thank you. Oh, I love this. We're getting lots of questions. Marie is asking, I'm wondering what would be a good spot or organization to look at getting our CBT and psychotherapy. I am just finishing my BSW, but would like to get them.
It's Marla Kay here. I'm wondering, Marie, do you mean training, CBT training and psychotherapy training?
Yeah, so like I'm assuming there's certifications, so just any organizations that you might think would be a good place to start in looking at getting those.
So I'm going to ask a question to Ali, have a little conversation here about it, but Ali, I would think that really looking into an MSW program that focuses on psychotherapy, I think there's one at U of T, would be a good bet on that. What do you think, Allie?
Yes, I think that would be a really great program to pursue to join the two.
Yeah, it's Marla again. The reason I say that, Marie, about MSW is the minimum education for a position of social work or a mental health clinician at UHN is a master's degree.
Okay,
Mandy,
yeah,
is that correct?
I'm definitely looking to get my MSW. I was just wondering if like that's something you get through school, or if that's like a training that you can, like your CBT and stuff, if that's like an outside training that you can go to an organization for outside of your schooling. Like for cognitive behavioral therapy and DBT and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are some certificate programs out there. I would recommend you look at U of T. Sometimes CAMH and U of T have collaborative training programs. And if you're going to pursue your MSW, that is a really good thing to look at when you're considering a program. Do they offer teaching in a certain modality?
I think those are great points, Marla. It's Allie just jumping back into and thinking about going into your MSW and even thinking about placement opportunities. I think there's a lot of opportunity to develop those specific skills as well if you're going to maybe into more mental health streams.
Thank you, ladies. And Marla, please feel free to jump in anytime as well. David is asking, what does a normal scheduling look like in a work week?
I would say, you're looking at Monday to Friday. Some folks have a little bit of differing hours. Again, there is some really great room and flexibility depending on what program or site you're working in. It could be an 8 to 4, a 9 to 5. There's flexibility around start and end dates.
Wonderful. Kaja is asking, is there opportunity for new grads with a master's, or is UHN currently looking for years of hospital and clinical experience?
I would say there are definitely opportunities for new grads coming in. We welcome the enthusiasm and the energy to join the healthcare system. If you do have hospital experience, I would say that is an absolute bonus, or a placement experience, but yes, we are looking for that too.
Okay, this one may be a bit more for the talent acquisition people. What percentage of social work and RP job postings on the UHN website are for permanent positions? For temporary positions, are there many internal positions to transition to after the contract is completed?
So I can speak to Altum Health's breakdown. I would say we're about 50-50 for permanent versus temporary. We always do prioritize internal staff members for permanent positions if they're currently on a temporary contract.
Thank you. Xiao Ching is asking, how many hours of work a week does a full-time social worker or psychotherapist work at UHN?
37.5.
It's basically a full week.
It's a full week, yeah.
Okay. Norrin is asking, are there any placement opportunities for MSW students for September 2022, for example?
Yes, I am 99% sure that there are opportunities for the fall. I think we are full for the summer, but we have for the fall.
Awesome. Rainbow is asking, are there any positions looking for people with BSW, not MSW?
There are a few sort of niche positions where you would be able to apply with the BSW, and I think around our community support worker roles or resource specialists, those would be the two areas that I would look at if you're coming with a BSW background.
Thank you. Stella is asking, do we have to be registered with a college to apply for the social work position?
Great question. Yes, you do need to be registered.
Okay. Maria is asking, there are several institutes to get psychotherapy credentials. Oh, I think that's more of a comment than a question. Let's see. Jen is asking, for psychotherapists, Do you also hire qualified registered psychotherapists and offer supervision?
Maybe I'll take this one. I do not hire the qualifying registered psychotherapists. We're really looking for psychotherapists who are already fully licensed for independent practice.
Thank you.
I can speak to Altum Health on that because we do occasionally hire qualifying psychotherapists, particularly with all the delays that the college has been experiencing due to the pandemic. We've recently hired 2 individuals who were under the qualifying heading. Supervision, it depends on the capacity of the site itself, but it's certainly something we can look at.
Wonderful. Lauren's asking, how can we make our application stand out as a future social worker?
I think that's a great question. I think you really just want to shine with all the experience you have. So I would say you really want to highlight your practicum experience through your MSW. Of course, if you have any experience that is healthcare, mental health related, that's going to be really great. And just sort of showing your personality as well, because it's a really great place to be employed.
Awesome, thank you. Angelica was asking, would you hire a master's student who's completed their degree in August 2022, but do not graduate until October 22?
That is a good question. I'm not sure if anyone else on the call is able to answer that a bit more. I think it will also have to line up with making sure that you are registered with the college and that all your final grading would have to be complete to show that you have completed those courses and that you will be graduating, would be from my understanding.
Okay. Jenny is asking, do applicants have to have a master's, or would you be interested in an RP from a program such as the Toronto Institute of Relational Psychotherapy?
I guess I could answer that. I don't know if there's a straightforward answer. I would look at an application, and if I saw many beneficial trainings, experience on that application, I may reach out to my recruiter, which actually happens to be Mandy on this call, and discuss that. There is a requirement about a master's degree, so it would be open to a discussion. Mandy, does that sound okay to you?
Yes, it would be open to a discussion, but we do have to follow the job description, which outlines the requirements of.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. This one's for Alton, Sarah. What is the client workload like for a given week? What sort of protected time do you give for program development, paperwork, and reports?
That's a really great question, and my apologies. I don't work intimately closely with the operations side of the clinics, but let me take that away and get back to you.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, if there's any more questions from the chat, I will keep an eye out. I'm going to go through the ones that were emailed to me. I believe this is for all of you guys. What is the caseload for social workers at UHN and Altum? And are social workers part of an interdisciplinary team?
I'll jump in. It is a hard thing to answer regarding the caseloads, just because if you are inpatient, you probably have a fixed caseload because it will depend on how many beds you have. If you're outpatient, it's usually a little bit of a larger caseload. So it would depend on what program and site you are part of for that piece.
Wonderful. Okay. Vanessa asked, what kind of patients can I expect to work with in a hospital setting as a social worker?
You know, anybody you can possibly think of. If we think about healthcare, healthcare is meant for everyone. We see people at very different stages of their lives. I think a really amazing piece to UHN is the number of different specialties the institution has. So you can really grow your focus depending on your area of interest. We think about Princess Margaret, you're going to be working with an oncology population. If you're in general internal medicine, maybe you are seeing some older, more vulnerable folks. It is all adult based, but we do family work as well. So it can really take you in all areas, which is why I think it's a really interesting and diverse role.
Thank you. Okay. Monica is asking, I'm still studying at this time, and I still get worried about the emotional toll of working with patients and getting too attached. From your experience, what has been your experience with this, and what are some strategies you've used in the past?
That's a great question. And I think we really have to be aware of that as clinicians. We go into this area of work because we want to help and we care, but we are humans. So we're not immune to ever having feelings or connections in terms of how we get to know people. I think being very aware of that, having really clear clinical boundaries is something that will really be an asset to your work. And that does take time to practice and to get those skills. There are opportunities where you're able to collaborate with your colleagues and sort of brainstorm and debrief and share the feelings you may be having. And then along the way, learning protective factors of how to keep yourself safe in that environment as well.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question is, I am studying to be a psychotherapist and wondered if it would be of benefit for me to volunteer at a helpline or a counseling clinic to gain more experience.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I guess that also would make their resume stand out a little bit if they have some volunteer experience.
Yes, I mean, it shows a couple of things too. It shows, you know, motivation. It will be very practical experience working with real clients. And it also gives you something to talk about it in an interview when you want to give examples. Yeah.
Very great. Thank you. Okay, Sarah's asking, I am thinking about a career in psychotherapy, and I wondered, how do you handle carrying the weight of other people's problems as a psychotherapist?
Oh, that's a whole course at a master's program. I'm really, Ali kind of touched on it in her last response about boundaries and not getting too attached. For the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario, there is an expectation that you understand the safe and effective use of self, capital S on the self, so that you know what you're bringing to your session with your clients, how to have proper boundaries, how to check your biases, transference and countertransference. But it is really a whole course, for
Okay,
sure.
So she can anticipate probably having to take that course.
Yes.
Okay, the last question I have on my list is, what is the most rewarding part of your career as a social worker or psychotherapist?
That's a great question. I think I touched on it a little bit in my slide around being a proud social worker. I think ultimately we are meeting people where they're at, and we are seeing people in some very potentially scary times. When there's a new diagnosis, if there has been a trauma to the family, you're really, as the social worker, the one that's building rapport with that patient and that family, and they're inviting you into the most intimate way to their family and to their life. So being able to provide support, to give practical resources, to actually see how from the beginning to the end, pulling a patient and a family through in a therapeutic way, I think has the best impact and gives you really fulfilled meaning in the area of work.
Marla, do you want to chime in?
Well, Ali really covered it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Well,
yeah.
the question, sorry, the question was about rewarding. Is that
the most rewarding part of your career?
I do really think that it's collaboration with patients, really doing patient-centered care, where realizing that we don't have all the answers. We might have information to share, but you're collaborating with the patient and joining with them in their journey and their process about their health and mental health.
Awesome, thank you. Looks like we do have 4 more questions in the chat. Angelico is saying a lot of employers are pre-hiring. Is your agency, I guess organization, considering this option for master's students graduating in the fall? I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah, apologies. I'm not sure sort of around the logistics on the hiring in the fall.
Okay.
Maybe people and culture will.
Okay, if one of you guys want to come back to that, please let me know. So one more question. When do you suggest we start applying? After registering or in between the time of graduating and waiting to register with the college?
You definitely want to start the process and registering as soon as possible. I think that there's a possibility of moving forward with positions as long as you can say and prove that you've graduated from your coursework and that you are in the process of registering with the college. That would be a very key piece.
Wonderful, thank you. Stella is saying, I'm currently doing my MSW placement as a therapist. I will earn 3 months of experience working as a therapist by the end of my degree. Would that be enough to apply for employment as a therapist?
I think it's definitely worth an application.
Wonderful. This may be a little bit more for our TA team. On average, how many applications do you receive for a given social work position?
I'm not sure. The applications do go through people and culture before it is then filtered through to management. So I'm not sure on the total number of that.
Mandy, Sarah, do you guys have any idea off the top of your head?
Not top of my head.
And we don't have social workers or strictly social workers at Altum, unfortunately.
So one more question. Does UHN have a preferred university they recruit student placements from?
UHN does have a partnership with the University of Toronto for student placements, but we are open to expanding, having placements from other universities as well.
So I think this one's a bit more of a broad question. Are you able to do therapy with a BSW?
So the qualification to do therapy and call yourself a psychotherapist is to be registered with a college, a governing body that license you to do the controlled active psychotherapy because it's a legislated act. So, Ali, do you want to comment on that further?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think there's some logistics around that. I'm not sure in which setting that would be applicable for at UHN. I'd have to look into a little bit more around that.
Yeah, the standard is a master's degree. And actually, I think with the colleges, mostly the standard is that too now.
Yes, I agree. I just didn't know if there was any loopholes that I wasn't aware of, but yes,
well,
the master's piece is needed.
I think the loopholes were in the grandparenting processes to become a member of those colleges, but
yes.
The latest college, CRPO, College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario, the grandparenting process has closed a few years ago.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sarah, I think this one is for you. For Altum Health, what is the best way to apply for positions as qualifying registered psychotherapists?
So you can just apply through the regular job posting. The hiring manager may not always be open to a qualifying psychotherapist as previously mentioned, but it's at least worth connecting, getting your name out there. And I'm always happy to reach out to a qualifying therapist, even if it's not the right time yet. We have positions opening regularly that I can speak to you about.
Okay, wonderful. How many placement students do you recruit each year?
I do not have the total number on that. I can get back to you. Christine Stapleford is one of our education leads. I know for the summer, I believe we have 6 students coming through, but then it would be more for the school year come in the fall. But I can check in and get more specifics around that too.
Okay. Paula's asking, does UHN worry that there is a lack of representation within the SW team?
Can you speak a little bit more to that, Paula?
Feel free to unmute yourself, Paula.
Second. Hi, sorry, my son's just practicing his piano in the background. It's just looking at photos and like some of the videos that are put out, and even the fact like how UFT lacks diversity in all of their programs, let's be real. I just worry that since it's drawn from, so I'm gonna out myself, I'm a Ryerson student, and I feel like we get stonewalled a lot. So there's all this experience, now we're coming out of our MSW and going into the field, and there's all this experience that's necessary, but leading up throughout our education, UFT has been gatekeeping, and now we're not entering certain positions, but our populations continue to be dealt with. So isn't there a worry that if it continues, if hiring continues to be done the way that it's done, both for placements as well as paid positions, that you will continue to have this gap in terms of who needs to be served and who's represented by those who are serving? I don't know if that makes it any clearer.
Yeah, no, that does. Thank you, Paula. I really appreciate that. And I think it's a really important point to mention. I myself, have been working at U of T for almost 6 years, or U of T, so sorry, I'm thinking of the university, at UHN for almost 6 years. I did not go to U of T either. I went to Ryerson and Dalhousie, and I can appreciate the challenges that you're acknowledging. There have been relationships where we have had a lot of U of T students. But I think where we're at right now, we're at a place of having change and trying things in a different way. And we are opening up placement opportunities to more universities, which didn't happen in the past. I think the area of diversity is always an area that should be highlighted and that can be improved upon.
Thank you. So just a follow-up, I know I'm kind of dominant, okay, and I'm not trying to do that, but I just, as a follow-up to that, I just find that, and I know I don't want to accuse you of paying lip service, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if the same expectations are there, I feel like if you really want to change the way it's done, then the expectations need to be looked at a bit different, because I may not have done like formal therapy or like psychotherapy, and I'm not even saying that I want to work for UHN. I'm here to get information, and I'm using myself because I feel like it's the best thing to do. I don't want to out anybody else or anything like that. But if there was an opportunity, for example, to say, oh, I may not have formal therapy experience, but I've worked for a long period of time with this particular organization, and there are these therapeutic skills, because I find that the skills should be more important than the title. And I don't think that that's always accounted for in the interviewer application process.
I can definitely appreciate that. I think ultimately, looking at the profession of social work, there are so many transferable skills and they can be used in so many different ways. And I wouldn't want that to hold you back from applying for many positions. I think, if you're coming from a position of such great experience that might be a little bit different than therapy focused, to be really highlighting those in your applications and bringing that into any interview questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. That seems to be all I have for questions right now. If there's anybody else who is on the line.
Sorry, there was one follow-up. It was a separate question that it's like the same things were listed in terms of like the types of therapy that are offered and whatever, like the CBT and the norm. But I'm just wondering if there's any research or consideration being made by UHN to consider other methodologies that are being used by like other grassroots organizations, like for example, those dealing with Black folks that say that this particular method works. So it's not quote unquote formal therapy, but it's something that could help with mental health.
I don't know if there's anyone here in the meeting who can comment about all the research, because your question was about research, Paula?
Yeah, and just in terms of like broadening the scope of the services, because some things work for some people, and we all know this as social workers, some things work for some people and don't work for others. But we also find that particular methodologies are very Eurocentric, and therefore it could be beneficial for mainstream organizations. And maybe I am a disruptor and I didn't intentionally do this today. It was not my intent, but that yes, somebody commented very westernized approaches. And I'm not saying eliminate them because they do work for some people, but broaden what, like maybe I'm coming in and I could talk about body. You know what I mean? Like, is that being looked at by UHN, or is it still just the same?
So I'll respond, but I can't respond about research per se, because I don't work on the research side of UHN. But at Toronto Western Hospital in the Center for Mental Health, there are culturally and linguistically specific clinics. There's an Asian initiative in mental health clinic, staffed with Mandarin and Cantonese speaking staff, as well as psychiatrists. That's a culturally and linguistically specific program for that population in Toronto and the greater Toronto area, and also Portuguese mental health and addiction services there. So there are considerations in the Department of Psychiatry related to what is appropriate or works best for certain populations. And those are two examples, and of course it doesn't apply to every person. I don't know if that helps.
Hope you answered my question. Thank you very much, Molly.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So this is your last chance to hop on and ask a question before we wrap up. I'll give it another second. I think that.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Is there like, are different master's programs preferred over others? Because when I was looking at some of the programs, like I know Laurier is kind of more justice based, like their courses seem to be more justice based. Are there, I know you guys have mentioned U of T, but I guess I'm interested in asking Ali if like Dalhousie is more focused on like they're like just a different, not justice, like more towards psychotherapy and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean. So is there a preference? No, I don't think there's a preference. I think we are open to candidates from all universities, and all universities have different focuses. So it may come down to more of just around your interests and your focus. So if I think about Dalhousie, I went into a mental health focus, but others could have gone into social justice and policy, or more clinically based. So I think a lot of universities have different streams. They all run obviously a little bit differently, and it just kind of comes down to where your interest lies. But no, there's no preference. We're open to candidates from all universities.
Okay, great, thank you.
We have one final question, I believe, and this is for the HR people on the call. You start in a temporary position. Is there a waiting period for when you can apply to other internal positions should you see a permanent role you're interested in?
So in theory, it's 120 working days. In practice, we're happy to move qualified individuals into permanent roles. Like we want to keep top talent that we have invested in. So usually we're not holding new hires to that probationary period for new positions.
Thank you. And I guess we'll take one final question. Whom do we reach out to regarding student placements?
That is a good question. I will put 2 names in the chat for you. 1 second.
Sorry, while you're typing, I have a question about the Princess Margaret. I know you take volunteers, but if you're a trained social worker and you like to volunteer, is it the same as if it's just a normal person, or are there roles that are particularly like tailored to the fact that you're in the profession?
So I don't have enough information about the volunteer services. I know if you reach out directly to volunteer services at UHN, they would probably be able to give you a little bit more information than I may have.
Paula, in my experience, I've had some volunteers in some of my outpatient clinics, and they've really tried to match people to an area of interest. That's just my experience, though.
Wonderful. Well, looks like the questions have stopped. So I'm going to end our meeting here. I thank everyone for coming out, especially those who spoke up and, talked out loud. This is why we have these info sessions, so we can collectively come together and discuss. Thank you, Ali, for your presentation and the slides. And thank you to the TA team for being here. We will be sending out a recording of this session to everybody who registered, as some people did register but weren't able to attend in person. Please share it with anybody who you think might be interested, and it will live on our UHN Careers YouTube page as well. Oh, looks like we have one more hand raised.
Yeah, that's me. I just wanted to make a recommendation. I think that people are sometimes afraid to pose particular questions in atmospheres like this because we worry, or I worry, that when my resume comes across your desk, you'll recognize my name and be like, oh no, she asked this, and worry about that problematization. So just as a recommendation, maybe if people have more questions that are kind of difficult, or they worry about the effects it might have, to change their name on the, like when they log in, to get some sort of anonymity, might be just a recommendation.
Yeah, there's an option. If next time you joined Zoom, there's like 3 little dots beside your name, and you can change your name if you're ever worried. But we welcome questions like this. This is good for us as well, because we get to answer those questions, and we get to see what people are thinking about who are out there as students. So don't worry, Paula, we appreciate you. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for attending. If there are any other questions, I believe Ali did put her email in the chat. You can go through and have a look. And we hope that you share this with some people. We hope to see you, some of you here as social workers and psychotherapists at Altum and UHN. Thank you for your evening, and thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.